Good morning from Peru. That cracks me up because my first post that I did in Peru, I started it like that. It just came very natural to me. If you don't get the reference, it's kind of a throwback to a movie that Robin Williams did a long time ago. Robin Williams, he unalived himself. Very missed, wonderful comedian, incredible personality. But he did this movie, movie, and he was like in a war camp in Vietnam and did the radio every morning. Would like kind of lift up the troops and stuff in that awful situation, and he would say, "Good morning, Vietnam." So I was just kind of copying that, and it was really hysterical to me because that video clip that I put on TikTok was absolutely the most viral video that I've ever done. And not super viral, but viral for me. And I think part of it was because I started off with that good morning from Peru, and also because this area just outside of Lima called Callao was in the background, and that caught a lot of Peruvians' attention. But what I didn't expect was how many Peruvians perceived me as sounding like Marge Simpson. Well, I've never had anybody tell me in my life that I sounded like Marge Simpson, but I'll take it. I think she's awesome. I think the Simpsons are pretty hysterical. When my kids were little, I didn't think it was such good viewing for them, and I didn't let them watch it when they were little. But it's a pretty amazing series over the years with its commentary and stuff. So anyway, just TikTok keeps encouraging me to go live and telling me like if I do another half hour or something, I get some kind of special perks, and I don't know, whatever. I have time. I'm a nomad. My husband and I are nomads. And what that means is that we free float travel around the globe. We have a very tight budget, but we have learned how to work within those small amounts of money and get to explore the world. And I have so much fun content creating. It's something that I've been getting, I would say, better at because my videoing is better, and I'm 65 years old. It's hard for my eyes. When we get older, things are a bit more difficult in a lot of ways. So I'm very proud of the fact that I have been able to stay on top of my capabilities, with videography and sharing and that kind of thing. And one of the things I'm also so excited about is that the location where we are now in Peru, the region is called Cusco, Peru. It's high up in the Andes Mountains, like really high. Really high. The air is quite thin. That gets your attention. It's not such an easy place to come and go quickly as a tourist or a traveler, or I would think it would be one of the more difficult places because of the altitude adjustment. And I really have found it to be an absolutely incredible place for us to come and to stay for a longer period of time. And because it's off season, there's not as many tourists. That's always nice, The downside is it's rainy. Not real rainy, just a little, every day's a bit overcast and you might get some rain. You don't really know. Not the ideal time for tourism. This month is not a month that a lot of people are able to travel around. This is working out really well for us because it makes things more affordable. When there's a lot of tourists, this is always hard on populations when you have a lot of tourists, especially tourists that feel a bit nervous and anxious and under pressure to see everything, and they might not be as sensitive to locals and be a bit more, demanding, depending on the culture that they come from. So it's really been a very pleasant time to be here. And we were not here for very long at all before I realized, I would like to stay here longer. So we decided Peru allows us as Americans, U.S. Americans, to stay in Peru for 3 months. And we spent our first week in Lima, in the area of, I'm always afraid I'm going to say it wrong, Callao, in the specific part called La Perla. And just by coincidence, one of our roommates here in Cusco City, he lived in La Punta for like over 20 years. He was on their very first football team there. He wears his jersey with pride. And I just saw this morning by chance. That's very significant to me because that first post that I did about that neighborhood and where people saw in the background, literally hundreds of Peruvians were cautioning me. I appreciate it. I understand their concern. I recognize that there has been and probably still is a problem with like phone snatching out of your hand. If you're just walking around not paying attention, people will grab your phone from your hands. But the reputation that it got as being a terribly dangerous place is not right. It's not deserving. And that's a fascinating cultural thing to observe, because I think what we all need to realize is that the power of media in our own worlds, the power when we warn other people about a place because somebody warned us, fear is more contagious and more powerful often than positivity. That's helpful in some ways. It also can work very much against us. And that neighborhood, like if you have what we call street smarts, where you learn how to watch for dangers, you learn how to watch for the kinds of characters, the kind of people that are watching you in such a way that they might want to take advantage of you. That's an easy thing to mistake also, because many times people are just curious, especially if you look different. They're just curious, and you can't always read their faces. But there are certain behaviors. I've been traveling. I've been lots and lots of places where people told me not to go. I've developed a lot of street smarts. And part of what I hope to do in my videos and in my sharing is help others learn to, or have a desire to, push their fear aside and explore for themselves. Be cautious, use common sense, right? But push your fear aside. And that means like in your own town, in your own state, in your own region, around the world, whatever. The world is so much safer, even in this time, in this period in history where we feel like, the world's on fire. There's definitely some hot spots and there's definitely some serious problems going on around the planet. I am not denying that, right? I'm absolutely not denying that. But nonetheless, if you look at the whole globe, those spots are quite small in comparison. And I'm very happy to be out here continuing to explore. I'm very thrilled to be in Cusco City. To those who've joined, I can't see well enough to be looking down on my screen, but I'm really happy that you're here. I hope I'm speaking slowly enough that you can understand what I'm saying well enough. But just to kind of go back to what today is, it's February 5th. And in Cusco City, that's part of, it's like one of the major days of this Carnavales time that they have. We in the States, like the first time I ever heard about a carnival was connected to Mardi Gras, the most famous Mardi Gras, which means Fat Tuesday. That has religious significance, Fat Tuesday. It's the last day of like feasting and celebration before the beginning of Lent. And then I'm always kind of nervous. I'm not going to get these things quite right. But in Catholicism, Lent is a period where you give up things as part of a reverence, and a spiritual growth. And it's all in a lead up to Easter, which is the time of the resurrection of Christ. Celebrated in different ways by different Christian religions. But Mardi Gras in New Orleans is like this massive party with lots and lots of costumes and floats and very exciting. And I was so naive. I knew so little about the world, the early part of my life, that I really didn't get it and didn't understand. I didn't grow up Catholic. And when I moved to Switzerland in my early 20s, they had kind of an equivalent called Fasnacht. And certain towns have more Catholic influence over time. So certain towns across Switzerland celebrate Fasnacht much more enthusiastically, and they call it Fasching. And that's also true in some of the other, like in Germany, it's called Fasching. There's different places. As it turns out, this carnival occurrence is represented different in different parts of the world. You may have heard of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. That's supposed to be like the world's largest carnival festival in terms of attendance. Massive, beautiful costumes, all kinds of things. We've not been to that one. The second most attended, supposedly, is on the island of Tenerife in the Canary Islands in a town called Santa Cruz. And we did go to that one in 2020, just before the pandemic hit. It was incredible. It was so beautiful and so much fun. And the dancing and everything was so great. So I'm very excited to see, more of how they celebrate here in Cusco and what all gets done. And it's going to be throughout the month. This is one day, and then there's a couple of days that are the most significant. But I'll be going down into the town center here after I do some more TikTok posting and kind of try to catch up on the content that I'm creating, because I really, really believe that all of the videos and all of the things I'm seeing and learning are worth sharing. And I don't only post on TikTok. I'm doing the most on TikTok because I have the broadest audience that grew quite quickly. Not big by standards, like, I don't know, under 1,000 followers, but very engaged audience, and mostly Peruvians. That's so much fun. But typically I will also go and post most of my videos over on Instagram they already have the closed captioning on them from TikTok. Then they'll also bounce to my Facebook, and I'm putting them on my Substack. And I spend a lot of my time content creating. And I really want people who follow me to understand that my primary purpose is not to grow big and not to monetize. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. For those who are into that, as they say in the States, you do you, boo. It's a really cute thing that the Black community has brought to our vocabulary. You do you, boo. But my purpose is to try to help others be more open-minded, basically, about the world, and to start to realize that maybe, just maybe, they have some wrong preconceptions of things. Maybe they want to rethink things. And I'm 65 years old. I understand that most humans become more rigid and tighter in their thinking as they get older. More conservative. It gets harder to change. More stuck in their thoughts. That's typical, but I don't think that that's a good thing, actually. I think that if we can learn from an early age and encourage our children as well to try to be open-minded, to be what we call critical thinkers. To be a critical thinker means to learn how to ask why. To not just believe something because everyone else around you thinks it, or because that's what your culture believes. Different people see things differently all around the world. And that's one of the most fun parts of traveling, is to sort of crack your head open and learn from other people. And I believe in the bottom of my heart that we as humans are actually one big family, even though we don't look at it that way. And we have so much more in common in the important things than our differences. We get stuck on our differences. We get, stuck on the differences of race and ethnicity. We get stuck on the differences of religious philosophies. These things create wedges between us, and we fight wars over them, right? We let our young people, typically our young people, I'm gonna make myself cry, typically our young men, go off and fight and kill one another over things that are not what we should be fussing about. We should be learning how to get along and how to love one another. And it's doable. I absolutely believe in the potential of world peace. And I know many people don't, and I know there's a lot of history that, would be used as evidence that it's impossible. But I have faith in my own observations. And I don't think you're going to meet very many people in your life that have, I'm not bragging, I'm just sharing. This is my 46th country. Ryan hasn't been to as many as I've been, and I had a little bit of a head start. But this is my 46th country. Now, that doesn't mean I've gone to all those countries and just taken pictures, right, and breezed through. Many of those countries, I've lived for an extended period of time and really put a lot of energy into trying to get to know people and understand. And I'm sharing this because I feel like my opinion about us being able to get along is valid. And I feel like I've proven it to myself from my observations. I've lived in small Muslim communities. I've lived in Christian communities. I've lived in Hindu communities. I've lived in Buddhist communities. I've lived in communities that there was very little faith in religion, but a lot of spirituality, where people were trying to follow the light and move towards goodness. There are large parts of the world I've yet to visit that I want to understand more about. China is one of them. The continent of Africa, I've only been on the top. I would like to get farther into Africa and have some better understanding of some of those cultures. But I really had no idea where I was going to go with this conversation. And I can tell that I'm getting a lot of things that are in my mind off my chest. In the U.S. right now, we're in a very tricky situation. And I hope we can come through it with minimal bloodshed. And I hope we can come through it with the understanding that the greatness of America that has led so many people to want to come to our nation and to dream of coming to America is not just about, getting rich. That's not, of course, it's the land of opportunity, and of course that's part of it. But the reason we became the land of opportunity was fundamentally because we have believed in, the Statue of Liberty represented it, liberty and equality for all, freedom for everyone, freedom for everyone, equality for everyone. We are a long ways from achieving that. That's very obvious. But we have stated it as a goal, as a nation, as a driving purpose of our nation. And this is part of the push and pull that's happening in America right now. And so I'm very much a lover of all people of the world. And I'm very much someone that welcomes others to come to our nation. And unfortunately, our immigration system has been broken for several decades, and we've not spent the money or time or effort to truly fix it. We've not invested enough in enough judges to help us handle the flow of people coming in. And that's led to this kind of panic and fear that others have used, right, to create more and more fear. And I don't want to go much more into that. But just to say, whoever is here watching me and listening to me, I value you. I appreciate you. I hope you can hear in my words and see in my face that I'm heartfelt with my with the things that I share. And if you enjoy my content, please do let others know. I'm also on YouTube, but TikTok has been my primary focus now because I can only do so much in a day, right? But whatever way is most convenient for you, if you Google the two words rambling, RAMBLING, rambling. That's a verb in English. To ramble means just to wander around. You just sort of ramble around. You don't have a solid destination. That's how I live. Rambling has a second meaning. Rambling, we can also ramble when we talk, where we just kind of go this way and that way when we talk. So you see both of those words very much describe me. My friends really laughed when I chose that as a word to describe myself. So the first word that you put in Google is rambling. Then the second word you would Google is, or whatever search engine you choose, right? Rhonda. My name is spelled RHONDA, Rambling Rhonda. And when I do that on my Google search, the whole first page shows different platforms that I've posted on, different ways to find me, different ways to stay in touch. And I appreciate everyone that's interested. And I think that I'm going to stop talking now, drink my coffee, have some water, and get back to posting some of the incredible times I've experienced. Yesterday, when we went to, I forgot the name of the town. I'll have to look. But a really cool place just outside of Cusco City. We went by bus. And the day before that, when I went to the Mercado in the Santiago barrio, like on the other side of the historic center of Cusco City from where we are now, I'm going to be adding some more videos of those things. So anyway, thank you so much for following along. I hope you have a great day wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I always appreciate comments and inputs and anything that's helpful, anything that I can, help teach others about where you are, or if you have questions for me about whatever, I'll answer as many of them as I can, and I appreciate you. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Now, how do I turn this thing off? I know it's a little button around here somewhere. There it is. Bye-bye.